what are the effects of this conference realignment for the other sports out there? I know that some softball players have who compete for schools that are leaving the Pac-12 have spoken about the latest conference realignment stuff, and the first one is like at underscore KAYKAYY13, and she plays for Oregon. Tired of being an overlooked sport, it's an upsetting day for the Pac-12 lovers and people who love the sanity of student athletes' mental health. Morgan Scotty, at Morgan, MORGAN underscore Scotty, capital S, COTTY11, said, anyone going to talk about all the other sports that play multiple games in a weekend? What happened to the mental health of student athletes being important? The balance of practice, travel, school, and having a social life is already hard enough. Why add even more stress? At SHAN Cunningham, all that is lowercase, by the way, and Shannon Cunningham said, I chose to play in the Pac-12 because of the ability to play close to home and in front of my family. I chose the Pac so my family didn't have to worry about far travel or giving up all their vacation time just to come to see me. This affects athletes in every sports plus academics. And at PAIGE underscore SINICKI, I picked to play in a high-level softball conference where being close to home would allow my parents to come watch my games. It's unfortunate to hear that my senior year, I'll be playing as far as New Jersey Rutgers, as well as other East School teams. I'm sorry to hear all that stuff on the softball side of things, but your sport is not going to be covered if you don't have the money for it, which most of the money you get in athletics comes from football and men's basketball with the TV deal and all this. I know this might affect recruiting as well. I'm not just talking for all the sports. I mean, for the non-revenue, but every sport now, like for Washington State, uncertainty, Stanford and Cal, Oregon State potentially. And this could very well affect recruiting for all those players that want to play closer to home, but they can't do it anymore. So those athletes could very well change their minds about being at Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA, and all this. And I know for like college tennis alone that we don't know where Stanford's going to be, and Washington State women's tennis is going to be, and Cal men's and women's tennis, and Stanford on not just on the men but on the women as well. And my advice to all those programs starting 2025, you got to play hard enough non-conference. It doesn't matter where you go, you're not going to get the same level as the Pac. And for those athletes saying it's unfortunate about the situation, but look, the commish of the Pac-12 dropped the ball big time. Same thing goes for your university president and other presidents over the Pac-12 schools. And I know this will also affect recruiting for all those schools that are going to the Big 12 as well. Like Colorado is going to get more Texas athletes, possibly Florida, with Deion Sanders head coach. But I don't know how long he's going to stay. But I'm just saying, in Arizona State as well, that's going to help. And Utah, coming to Big 12 as well. And we already know the effects of BYU and UCF and Houston and Cincinnati and all this. I know Cincinnati is dealing with a new head coach, but still, you get my point. it's going to affect not just one sport, it's going to affect everything. And with those schools who don't have a home right now, they need, like Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, and Stanford, you better make a run for it. You don't need to stick around for the Mountain West to come to you. You might have to go to the Mountain West. I mean, or the American, or the West Coast Conference and be independent in football. If you can afford to do it. If you can. So, I'm just saying there's a couple of ways, or you could just be independent in football, but Mountain West for every sport, and same thing goes for the American, possibly. I don't know. I'm just throwing out options out here. And Washington State, of course, we know that financially they're having issues right now. Same thing goes for Cal. This is going to hurt them athletically going forward, as we all know. It's unfortunate, but the Pac did it to themselves in all this mess. And of course, I have to think they're going to come up with some idea for the Big Ten on a travel situation soon-ish. I don't know if it's going to start right now. I don't know, because you got all the other sports you got to deal with first. But they have to come up with an idea, because 18 teams in the conference, and you know basketball, they're going to have 18 for sure, and you can't play yourself twice, so you're going to have to play somebody twice and everybody else just once in all this. So seriously. And I know in football they probably want to come up with a model that you have a few protected rivals and then you play certain teams 1 year on the road and at home and then flip them. But you get to the point that you can play everybody home and home with every single team within a certain amount of years, like 4 years, for example. So I know this is it's not really a rant, it's just more like it's addressing the issue up front. And I get mental health is important, but you could also go like to your counselor or your advisor, try to get some help there. And I know it's going to be hard to be away from your family more because of the travel, and I know it's going to affect travel for like Oregon and Washington trying to trout fans, and same thing goes for USC and UCLA to the Big Ten area, to the other Big Ten teams out there that are existing right now, and same thing is for them to go all the way over there too. So, and at least the Big 12 won't be having to deal with that situation. No, it is kind of a mess from Morgantown, from Utah, as well as Arizona as well. And even UCF to an extent. You can't forget about them. UCF to BYU or Utah or to Arizona. So it's just the nature of the game here. It's all about the money. Without the money, you don't have the sport, other sports, non-revenue wise. And if you don't want to make if you want your parents to see you play almost every game, then go to a conference that is more regional and easier on yourself. Like the Mountain West, it's not as far, like from. I know it's not as good of a conference, but at least it's more regional. The Big 12 is somewhat regional for the most part, except with the exception to the few East Coast teams, but you get the point. And the Southeastern Conference, I know it's mostly South, and we know the ACC, as of right now, is that way. So it's really, we have to wait and see what happens with Washington State, Stanford, Cal, and Oregon State and all this. Anyways, I apologize for this rant, but I just want to address everything up front and tell you they're going to find a way to make it work. down the line. And without the money, you just don't have the sport. You might have to drop it for all we care, and for all we know, they have to drop the sport. And possibly Washington State might have to drop football. Same thing goes for Cal, maybe. Maybe. If you like this content, like and subscribe, and see you guys later. 5 subscribers are on the road to it. Let's go.